Welcome, everyone, to Bet What Happens Live. I am your host, Nick Giffen, and this time I have my boss, Director of Predictive Analytics, Sean Kerner, here to help analyze the second half between, or I should say, the live betting between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Jacksonville Jaguars. Do want to thank our sponsor, bet365, for allowing us to put on this show for every playoff game during the NFL playoffs. So, Sean, obviously the big news, the Mahomes injury, how does that change things?
Yeah, so this is going to be an interesting one. First of all, we don't know if he's going to try to return and play hurt or if they're going to just stick with Chad Henne. So we have two different sets of projections we need to work with. Plus, this is going to impact the Jaguars. I have Trevor Lawrence's over on his passing yard prop. Had I known Mahomes was going to be hurt, I probably wouldn't have bet that. So I'm looking for his under maybe. The way both quarterbacks are going to distribute the ball probably changes right now with Mahomes, either banged up or missing the game. So looking forward to just kind of looking at whatever markets we can get right now. But I think we might be able to find some value because these kinds of events, it's really hard to adjust.
Yeah, exactly. And I think your pregame projection is around 255, 260, somewhere in that neighborhood for Trevor Lawrence. And now your projection with Trevor Lawrence, whether Mahomes is in or out, doesn't really matter because we think Trevor Lawrence is going to have to pass less because this game could be closer, or I should say get less yards because this game potentially could be closer. Also, Kansas City might run the ball a lot more, which would eat a lot more clock. So instead of the 255, 260 projection, your pregame projection, if you had known this was going to happen, would be about 235 to 240 yards based off of what we've got here. It's certainly going to change things. And I mean, that's going to do a whole lot of things. I mean, we've already started seeing Chad Henne, like you said, dink and dunk. He's found Travis Kelce a lot already. There was the long Isaiah Pacheco run. But Jacksonville is down by 10 right now, so they're kind of in a script where Lawrence, at least, we're coming up on halftime, so they're going to be throwing at the 2-minute warning. Yeah. But Kansas City starts with the ball in the second half. If they somehow score again, Jags are going to be throwing a lot, so maybe that Trevor Lawrence projection, maybe we do end up finding some value in the over then.
Yeah, I would hope so. They have probably a few plays left, so he might tack onto that. Unfortunately, all we have access to right now are Jaguars props, and it's hard to bet on them right now because they still have the ball. So, but hopefully, I'm starting to see Chad Henne pop up at spots, so hopefully we do get some Chiefs props, at least the running backs, because I think we'd be able to safely project those. I would say whether Mahomes is in or not or out.
Yeah, exactly. And if you guys see me looking off to the side, it's because I have the game on over here, and the Jaguars do kick a field goal, so the Chiefs are up by 7, not 17, by 7 with a score of 17-10, 27 seconds left to go in the first half. So the Jaguars do close it a little bit, and I'm just going to update the live betting market right now because Bet365, it has changed with that field goal, and it looks like right now the Kansas City Chiefs, based off of the live betting market at Bet365, are about 76, 77% to win, and the remaining percentage is going to Jacksonville. If that were to be the case at the start of the second half, we would have Kansas City passing about 10% less than their pregame projection, and that doesn't even include the potential Chad Henne effect, which I haven't added in yet. And then the Jaguars actually, because they already passed so much, they actually don't bump up much in passing percentage at all because our pregame projection was already around like 67% passing for them. So we're at 27 seconds. Kansas City will get the ball. I guess, what are you looking for here before we go into halftime or right at the start of halftime?
Well, the first guy I wanted to look at was Marvin Jones. Because the game is a little bit closer than I thought it'd be at halftime, and with Mahomes dinged up, I think the Jags are going to be less aggressive. We've already seen that. They've been dinking and dunking it, the whole entire first half. So that doesn't really suit Marvin Jones quite well. So he's a guy I was kind of looking for the under.
Yeah, definitely. Which Unfortunately, you had his over pregame, but had we known how this all was going to play out, especially with the Mahomes injury, you're looking to maybe pivot to an under, as you were saying there.
Yeah, so I'm just curious. I'm assuming also right now that the Chiefs will just kneel it. They probably don't want to risk it with Henny under center. I'm sure they're content going to halftime up 7 and finding out what's up with Mahomes. So I'm assuming we are done seeing stats other than a couple or one Chad Henne kneel down. So I'm curious what the model is saying for a player like Marvin Jones right now.
Yeah, so right now, if we're just using the default projections, so not the Mahomes in or the Mahomes out or anything like that, but the actual original pregame projections, Marvin Jones has no receptions right now for no yards. And based off of those projections, let me scroll down here. We have his median for the rest of the game at 19.5. Now, again, that's with the original pregame projections. But if I pull in, let's say Patrick Mahomes does come back in for the second half, it looks like we'd have to update. So it would still be 2.8 receptions for 37 as our pregame projection for Marvin Jones, and instead of 3 for 39.6. So it does lower it a little bit, which means all of a sudden the median is now, instead of 19.7, it's 18.4.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because the live market's now 12.5. So maybe we do have some value on the over. Maybe my original bet still has some life. So that's good to hear. So yeah, I was just curious to see what our updated projection was, because his live market's pretty low right now.
Yeah, and I mean, I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that Kansas City is ahead, right? So the Jags are trailing. So it's not like the Jags are going to be any less likely to throw if they're still behind. It would just be, they do have a little bit more potential, I guess, to come back, right?
Yep. How about Evan Ingram then? What do we have for his in-game line? Because the prop right now is at 33.5. Right now he has 10 receiving yards, but he's been playing at such a high level lately. I expect him to have a big second half, no matter what happens with Mahomes.
Exactly. So, heading into halftime, and we do get the kneel downs there to go into halftime. But Evan Ingram would be projected for a median of 26.7 more yards for a total of 36.7 as our median projection for him rest of game. And before we get to that point, I do want to remind everybody, as I stall here to find my read, that Bet What Happens Live is presented by Bet365. All right, so Kerner, I said that we're at about 36.5 median for Evan Ingram. That's just based off of the default projections. And I don't know how much that has changed based off of, the injury here. I'm just going to scroll real quick and grab those. So we've got, if Mahomes does come back in, it looks like 44.5 with 48 receiving yards as the pregame projection, what we would have projected, which is about 4 more yards less. So in that case, our new live prop would be 24.5 median plus the 10 he already has, which is 34.5.
Okay, so right in line with the market. Fantastic. So let's look at the live odds right now. So right now, the Jags are plus 7.5. They don't even get the ball to start the next half. So just by looking at the market, I think the market's guessing or assuming that Mahomes is going to be out the rest of the game.
Yeah.
That line says to me that Chad Henne is playing the rest of the game. So that's just worth pointing out, because Mahomes, he's typically worth 7 to 8 points against the spread, and they are up 7. So you would expect the Jaguars to be slightly better going forward due to score effects. But just based on that live line, the market is basically suggesting that Chad Henne is going to play the rest of this game.
Yeah, and one thing that I think is interesting here, so if we look at our pace splits, which our colleague Billy Ward keeps track of, we're kind of in the scenario where with a healthy Mahomes, this game should speed up and, there should be more scoring because Kansas City, they play a consistent tempo regardless of ahead or behind. They just play pretty fast, like 26, 27 plays per second. Or seconds per play, I should say. But Jacksonville's the one that changes based off whether they're ahead or behind. And as trailing right now, that would lead to a much faster second half. But of course, now with Henne in, maybe they end up running the ball a lot more. So unfortunately, there's no like reliable way to at least take a position on the total here. So we'll just have to keep that in mind as well when we're betting player props. So we took a look at Evan Ingram. We took a look at Marvin Jones, which I thought was interesting. Marvin Jones, like you said, there could be some value on his over. And I think that's especially true once we get past this first Kansas City drive of the second half. Because, if they kick another field goal or somehow score a touchdown, the Jags are throwing the rest of the way, basically.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons I liked them is, last week they were down by 27 or 24 at halftime. And they ran a lot more 3 wide sets, less 2 tight end sets. So when they are trailing, he gets on the field a lot more because typically he's only out there when they have 3 wide. So typically project him for around 70% routes run rate. That was up to 90% last week. So again, he does typically thrive in a trailing game script. So this actually could set up for his over. I'm hoping he somehow ends up going over his 27.5 still, but that could be something we look at. And I'm seeing Chad Henne props post in some spots. They haven't unlocked it yet, but it looks like his passing yard projection or his prop is 85.5. So that'll be interesting if they unlock that. But I don't think we're going to see any Chiefs props before the second half starts. So maybe we'll see those pop up, in the third quarter once we have more clarity on the situation. But I've been keeping an eye out on those.
Yeah, for sure. And I do see like a ghosted line over at bet365 for Chad Henne at 85.5 passing yards, but it's not bettable right now. It's just kind of a ghosted line. But I guess that's where things would stand. And it's interesting because if I come over here and I do put in Chad Henne, we would have about a 245-yard pregame projection for him. But then based off of that, and then the current situation and the fact that it only has 23 passing yards, we'd actually be showing value on the over. We have about 122 yards as our projections. So that would be way out of line with 85.5. We'd be showing like 67% over.
Unlock that bad boy. But yeah, I think, they're going to want him to continue to target Travis Kelce at a high rate. So that's good for Henne. I think he would target Jerick McKinnon more. I think they would have McKinnon play a little bit more, more dink and dunk style football. Kadarius Toney, another guy that you just want to get the ball in his hands and he can make magic happen. I think players like Justin Watson, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, or the players that Chad Henne, or the Chiefs probably don't want Henne throwing to. They probably don't want him throwing downfield with the lead. So those are players in the second half. If you do see props on those guys, I think that's where I'd lean if Henne's under center.
Did you happen, or as you were changing the projections, did they change the pregame touchdown projections? And I'm thinking specifically for the Jaguars receivers, because if the pregame touchdown projections don't change, we're actually showing a value on a couple of Jaguars receivers for a second half anytime touchdown.
They would change, but very slightly, because again, Mahomes not playing defense. If anything, he would just keep the Jaguars from being more aggressive, I guess. But yeah, I updated those as well. So where are we showing value on those?
Yeah, so let me grab those real quick. Let me grab the new touchdown projection numbers. And then that way we will be able to tell more precisely, assuming that he is out, assuming that Mahomes is out.
Okay, cool.
So those are updated, and we're showing plus 360 fair value for Christian Kirk second half touchdown. Bet365 has plus 400. And Zay Jones, we're showing just under plus 450, and Bet365 has plus 500. So I don't know, and there's no value on Marvin Jones, by the way. So I don't know if you have a preference between Kirk or Zay Jones, but I feel like as a co-host of the Touchdown Show, I'll roll with whichever one you prefer.
Okay, so What was Christian Kirk again? I just updated their touchdown projection on my end.
Christian Kirk with
plus 360.
Yeah, he was
Okay.
plus 360 originally. So if you just updated do you have like the pregame touchdown projection for him?
Yeah, so I have for the second half, I'd have Kirk around plus 400.
Uh-huh.
And then Zay Jones around plus 500.
Okay, and that changes because they're going to be passing even more than normal now. So that's actually good. So we're at plus 360 for Kirk and plus 450 with those updates because Jacksonville will be passing even more. So we're actually showing value, like I said, on both. And if you have a preference on Zay or Kirk, I'll tell you.
I'm gonna go.
You don't even have to. You don't have to make the bet, but I will.
I'm gonna go with Zay.
Zay, all right.
Touchdown. Yeah, I think Kirk will have a big second half. He'll definitely hit your yardage prop. I think Zay will be the guy that Lawrence leans on near the end zone.
All right, so we're taking half a unit. Zay Jones plus 500 for an anytime touchdown. So that's bet number one. Do we want to? I know you've got the Marvin Jones over from pregame, but like you said, we're showing some value if the prop on Marvin Jones right now is what's his receiving yard prop?
It was 12.5. So yeah, there definitely is some value there because he's the type of receiver. I bet one catch will get him there.
Yeah.
He's a guy you don't really want to root for him to get 2 receptions, but he's a guy I think he will pull down one pass. That's why originally I saw it at 16.5. I kind of like the under, but now that it's down to 12.5, that does lead me to think that there is some value on the over here. Because like I said, when they are trailing, he tends to get a little bit more playing time as well.
Certainly. And so we have 57% to the over based off that 12.5 and based off your updated pregame projections. So what I would recommend, maybe we wait to the end of this first drive because a little bit of time will run off the clock, and so maybe that projection drops to 11.5, but it really shouldn't. And then B, if somehow Kansas City, scores, then I think we'll be in a situation where the Jags are absolutely going to be throwing like for most of the rest of the game.
Yeah, definitely.
So where do you want to look next? Because we've talked Marvin Jones, we've talked anytime touchdowns for the Jaguars receivers. We talked Evan Ingram. Do we have any other props that have popped up on the Kansas City side?
Yeah, we have Pacheco rushing prop. It's 113.5 right now. So let's see where we're showing that updated line.
Certainly. So without his pregame change based off the Mahomes situation, we would be showing 61% to the under. But I do need to make an update here for the fact that what's his name? Mahomes is out. So we're changing his pregame projection based off the fact that Mahomes is out. That gives him about 4.5 more pregame yards.
Yep.
And that puts him under at 56.5% instead of over 60%. So we are showing some value on the under here for his 113.5.
Interesting. Yeah, the Jags are a pass funnel defense. They have a pretty good run D. We kind of saw that last week when the Chargers were up big. They couldn't really run the ball, so they just kept throwing and letting the Jaguars back in the game. So that's an interesting pivot there, and I think books are probably expecting heavy action on Pacheco's over. I think that's where the logic would go. So that is interesting that we're showing under. Is that something that you'd be comfortable with all the moving pieces locking in, or do you want to look at something else?
Yeah, I think this is an interesting one just because, how does McKinnon factor into this as well based off of the Mahomes situation?
Yeah, I think McKinnon will get some extra playing time in the second half as well. I think they are going to be run heavy. So I think that's going to sort of even out the carries between those two a little bit more. Mm-hmm. So I think that would lend to Pacheco being under. But Pacheco is such a home run threat. He can score from anywhere on the field. He's always a guy. It's always pretty risky taking his under, especially who's going to be getting the ball more. It's more swings that he gets. So that's why I'm a little bit cautious.
And speaking of getting the ball, the Chiefs are starting with the ball, so that cuts into our 56% undervalue a little bit as well. So again, maybe another spot where if the Chiefs don't score on this first drive, then we look to take Pacheco's under.
Yeah, definitely. And now we have some receiving props up for the Chiefs, and let's just go straight to Juju Smith-Schuster.
Okay.
His prop right now is 25.5. He had a very slow first half. Let's see. I think he had like
One catch for 13 yards.
13
Yeah.
yards. And he's a guy I think that they'll want Chad Henne targeting. And if we're showing that much value on Chad Henne's over, if that's the number they're basing these off of, I think there might be some value on Juju's over.
Yeah, let me pop in his pregame projection based off the fact that Mahomes is out. I have it right here. So we have 56% to the over, and Kansas City is starting with the ball. And because it is Chad Henne, there's probably a little bit more of a chance that they don't score on this first drive. So I'm kind of comfortable taking that over 25.5. I mean, he's already halfway there, right?
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. And like, this is a scenario where obviously you rather have Mahomes in the game, but I think the target tree is going to narrow a bit. And I think Juju will be one of Chad Henne's top targets, as he should. So yeah, I definitely like the value we're getting on this over then.
Yeah, for sure. Let's do it. I'm in. I'm in.
All right.
We're taking Juju Smith-Schuster over 25.5 receiving yards. So that is bet number 2 on Bet What Happens Live. You know, I got a little nervous on the Pacheco one, but I don't feel like
this one we feel good
is as scary. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And then we have a couple spots we're going to wait. We're waiting on that Pacheco. Basically, we have a situation here where if Kansas City doesn't score, we like Pacheco's under. But if they do score, we like Marvin Jones over. So that's kind of what we're waiting on for this first drive of the second half. And we are coming out of halftime. So, you know, they're getting lined up here.
Mahomes is warming up.
And Mahomes is warming up, which is very interesting. So we'll have to kind of see how this drive plays out. But I think that's kind of what we're looking for to, you know, lock in maybe a third and final bet. So I know our wonderful producer, Charlie, he's probably got the graphics up on the screen of what we bet. But we took Zay Jones second half touchdown plus 500.
Love that one.
I like that a lot. And then we took Juju Smith-Schuster. And by the way, Sean, remember, we hit that second half touchdown bet the only other time we did one with Debo last week. So maybe we'll go 2 for 2. And Mahomes, he is in. So
wow. And we got Juju at 25.5. Are you kidding
exactly.
me?
I love it. So, you know, we were being conservative, I guess, thinking maybe Henne would come back out, but looks like they got Mahomes all taped up and they start with a handoff there. So
Pacheco, of course.
Yeah, to Pacheco. So, you know, I guess that's why I was a little gun shy on his under there. So Pacheco has 8 carries, 81 yards now after that. And we'll have to see after this drive kind of where his rushing yardage prop ends up, because it was at 113.5. And obviously as this drive goes along, that'll change. And whether Kansas City scores or not, that'll change things as well. So looks like, you know, Kansas City is not having too much issue. Now they're in a 3rd and 1 after a completion to Travis Kelce. So
I think this is all helping Marvin Jones over too, by the way.
Yeah, I was going to say, how does this change your thoughts knowing that Mahomes is back in?
Well, we're not going to get any Mahomes props, I don't think. But obviously,
he just ran for the first down, by the way.
I know. I was gonna say. Obviously, I would look at his rushing prop just to see where it is. And sure enough, I was kind of saying, like, I still think he might scramble despite being hurt. But there we go. We already witnessed it. But I think the fact that he's in, I love our Juju bet even more. But I think this is just helping all the Jaguars players we were talking about to go over, at least in the passing game. So we'll need to see how he looks on like a deeper throw. Right now they're being extra conservative, another run play. But I think this definitely helps Marvin Jones over. And it's still at 12.5.
Yeah, it helps all of our Jaguar receiving props, whether it's the Marvin Jones over that we're potentially looking at, also the anytime touchdown for Zay Jones, just because it's more likely if Mahomes is in versus Henne and Mahomes is well enough to play, then they prefer him to Henne. And that means the market reacted as such, actually. Now, instead of being around, 77% to win, Jags or Kansas City was 80% to win just on the Mahomes news itself, which changes our value on that Zay Jones from plus 445, plus 450 to about plus 425, plus 430 as fair value. So that plus 500 we got looks even better now.
Yeah, exactly. Now, to be clear, Mahomes might do something crazy here and throw a pick. Like, he might be too hurt to really be effective. So we're really having to watch this drive closely. He hasn't done anything too Mahomesian other than that scramble yet. So once he does make a good throw, then I think we absolutely have to lock in that Marvin bet.
Yeah, for sure. Mahomesian. I love it. That's like
now he had what, 3 Mahomesian passes on the very first drive.
He had that like little jump pass or whatever it was. I couldn't tell what that was, but
he had the jump pass, the sidearm pass through like 2 defenders. We haven't seen that quite yet, and now they're gonna have to punt. So far he hasn't been too much better than Chad Henne.
Yeah,
if we're being honest,
he's been Hennian.
Yeah, he's been Chad Hennian.
So what that does, remember when we said we'd look at Pacheco's under in that case. So we'll have to see if Pacheco has a live rushing prop now. And while you search for that, I'm going to update these numbers here just for the fact that some time has run off the clock, about 3 minutes.
Yeah, it looks like it's not up yet, but it was at 112.5. Now it's 113.5, but it's not unlocked yet. But that's what the phantom line is right now.
It's still at 113.5, or did you say 112.5?
Okay. It went from 112.5 to 113.5, but it's not currently available.
Gotcha. Okay. So that's kind of where we're looking. And
now it's up to 117.5. So,
which makes no sense. That's actually backwards from what we would think. So that's great. Well, I think
now 118.5. Oh, it's unlocked. Oh, nope. Never mind.
Well, we're showing significant value on the under at 118.5 whenever that unlocks.
No, 114.5. I'm waiting for it to get unlocked, but right now it's settled at 114.5. McKinnon's at 25.5. So if it unlocks at 114.5, you want to go for it?
Yeah, we're locking that in.
All right.
So we just got to wait and see if it unlocks. But that's about it. So we don't need to sit here and wait. Pretty much anything. Like I'll find a number where we probably shouldn't bet it at.
Okay.
So 108.5, no. 114.5, we're still at 60% under. 111.5, we're getting a little too far. So I'd say anything 112.5 and under, we can bet. So
there it is.
There it is. Unlocked 118.5.
I told you.
Lock it in.
Up and down.
Lock it in.
Okay.
All right. That's our third and final bet for Bet What Happens Live. Isaiah Pacheco under 118.5 rushing yards. So to recap, we have Zay Jones second half touchdown plus 500 for half a unit. We have the over on Juju Smith-Schuster 25.5 receiving yards, and we have the under on Isaiah Pacheco 118.5 rushing yards as our 3 bets for Bet What Happens Live. Sean, thank you for joining me on this one.
That was a fun one.
Yeah, that was a wild one, and maybe the most chaotic one we've done all year, regular season included. So I want to thank Bet365 again for sponsoring the show, and that'll do it for this one. We'll be back at the 2-minute warning of tonight's game between Philadelphia Eagles and the New York Giants, and I'll have our other predictive analytics colleague, Billy Ward, on the show with me. He does a lot of live betting stuff as well, Billy. So that's going to be great. Yeah, that'll be his first live show with us. So make sure y'all tune in then, and we will see you then. Good luck, everyone.